for more on this is former Hennepin County Sheriff Richard Stanek and law enforcement consultant and 25-year veteran with the Los Angeles Police Department, Deon Joseph. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Now, Richard, in a statement, President Biden thanked Democratic Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey and Representative Karen Bass of California for their work on the bill, and then proceeded to place the blame on the GOP for rejecting that legislation after months of negotiations. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure who's to blame, but I'm not looking to pass blame either. I think they should go back to the table. They should continue working on this. The American people and our law enforcement officers deserve some answers to some of the tough questions that have been asked in the whole scope of police reform.
Deon, do you think it was fair to criticize the Republicans for that legislation, or what are your thoughts on that matter?
No, I don't. When I hear that one of the things holding up the bipartisan agreement was the fact that there are still politicians who are hell-bent on holding on to the defund the police narrative or movement, and you're actually seeing the failure and fallout of that immediately right now. Just look at Philadelphia, where you have 500 murders in a year already. 6 people were shot in a drive-by shooting. That was just the other day. You know, people dining on the sidewalk, having a pleasant time, and just criminals nonchalantly just walking up to people with guns and robbing them. This movement is failing out of the gate. And for any politician to hold on to that, they're not thinking of the safety of the people that they say they're trying to protect. And that's why I think it failed. And they need to have police officers at the table. Not saying that they don't, but talk to the front line, the officers who are touching the people every day in the street, who are, notifying people that their loved one's not coming home, calling an ambulance for someone who's been stabbed or shot. Talk to us, and we can have some very, very valuable input as to what needs to happen as far as public safety in this country.
And such a missed opportunity, such a great point you bring up is, why are we not talking to officers? Why are they not having a seat at the table explaining the everyday situation versus someone who's so disconnected from it and just sees one side of a story? Now, on Tuesday, it marked 1 year since the killing of George Floyd and also marked Biden's deadline to pass that reform bill. Richard, do you think Congress is going to exert its power here?
No, I think, honestly, I believe they've come to an impasse, or so they say. I agree with Deon that the abolish and defund movement is going to continue to move forward. They're just going to take it back to every individual state like they've done here in Minnesota. With the city of Minneapolis, we're on the November 2 ballot initiative to defund and abolish their local police department, which is not the right way to go. Our crime, like he just described, is skyrocketing. Our murders are going to be at a rate unseen of before. The FBI just released numbers that said that we've had 30% increases in homicides over the last year. You're seeing this across the country time and time again. Defunding, abolishing is not the way to go.
I just want to reiterate that statistic you just brought up. Murders rose by almost 30% nationwide in 2020, and data is indicating that they're going to continue to rise in 2021. Deon, how do we curb that crime? In addition to having officers be a part of the conversation, what is it that can be done that is not defunding the police?
Well, here's what needs to be done. We need to stop being idealistic as it results to crime and stop using public safety as a social experiment. That has to stop immediately. We got to get back to the basics of don't do the crime. If you don't want to do the time, don't do the crime. Because here's the thing. We got to stop framing public safety in the wrong way. We keep looking at it as punishment. I don't see it like that. When I get a rapist, when I get a gang member who's brutalizing the community off the street, I don't see it as me punishing them. I see it as giving the community relief from the activity of individuals who refuse to change. And if you look at their rap sheet, it's clear. This is the career they've chosen. So we have to protect the public. And if we get back to that, we can save a lot of lives, juxtaposed to what's happening right now. And if you really care, and I'm talking to politicians out there, I don't care if you're right or left, because I'm not either. We have to stop framing policing in the way that you're doing it, because the very people you care about are dying right now.
No, and perspective is everything. We have about 30 seconds left. Minneapolis is planning to replace the city's police department with a Department of Public Safety. Richard, what did you make of that?
I disagree. I think the only way that they can do this is to change the charter of the city, and that is by going to the Department of Public Safety, which removes funding requirements for a police department, also removes the authorized number of sworn peace officers. They have no plan moving forward. There's been no discussions about it at all, but they're asking the voters of Minneapolis to vote on this. They raised over $1 million in this pro movement to abolish and defund the police locally, but only 15% of those monies have come from Minneapolis residents themselves. Everybody other than Minneapolis residents are weighing in on this across the country. And what happens in Minneapolis will soon be happening in Baltimore and Portland and Chicago, New York, and other places, which is exactly the wrong way to go in the wrong time. Crime is skyrocketing. We deserve better.
A domino effect there. Thank you, Dion, Joseph, and Richard Stanek, all the time we have for this morning, but we really appreciate your insight.